Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. It's your favorite paranormal investigator. My name is Tim Sudano with Paranormal Insight. Today, we have on the show, returning for the third or fourth time, Joe Montaldo, and we are so happy to have him on board. We're going to talk about disclosure and aliens and a bunch of other stuff. So let's bring him on without further ado. Joe, welcome to the show. He waves at us. You know what? I can't hear you right now. I think you might be muted.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. I was muted, actually, because I was yapping about I was just warning you. I was waving at y'all, but I was warning y'all, do not upset Bob back there. She will come to your house, and you will not like it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's bad thing.
He's dead, isn't he? No. He just looks like he's dead. That's all. Well, he can't be his full self because people would get all upset if the gray was standing behind me. They'd be like,
it would be kind of cool, though. I mean, that would kind of cap our disclosure discussion.
Is that really a gray back there? Oh, shit.
That's amazing.
Oh, hey, Heidi, how you doing?
Heidi's here. How's it going, Heidi? Well, let's talk about the whole disclosure thing. I had Steve Bassett on last week, and
one of my best buddies. I love Steve.
Yeah, Steve was awesome. We talked about capital D disclosure, what would happen, and what his take is. And he thinks this administration, this year perhaps, is going to say, "Yep, here's what's happening," and we're going to get UFOs in the front lawn of the White House. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but it's certainly an intriguing idea. But what I wanted to really kind of ask you, given your background, is that where, as far as disclosure goes, we kind of seem to keep taking baby steps, really, really small baby steps. Not only people coming forward, but all the whistleblowers doing their stuff, and now people challenging the whistleblowers and saying that's not what happened. And I don't know. What's your take on this?
Think of it like this. So this is what's right. And Steve and I have had this discussion many times. Him and I have debated this discussion because I always tell him you're not going to get to the truth chasing lights in the sky. It's not. Yeah, I mean, it can be anything flying around in the sky. Let's be honest about it. And disclosure does have to either come via the extraterrestrials or via the government. So let's look at the government first before we even talk about ET. So let's say that Donald Trump gets up tomorrow morning, walks out on the Rose Garden and says, "You know what, guys? I didn't want to tell you this, but extraterrestrials are real and they are taking our citizens." So what's the next response? And remember, we have crazy media in this country. Oh my God, it's going to be Trump is letting us being taken by extraterrestrials. That's going to be the first line, even though we all know it's been going on for, at least a couple of thousand years, maybe a couple of 100,000 years. It doesn't matter. That's going to be the first line you're going to see. That's the very first thing you're going to see. Then you're going to have instant panic in our country because no one's going to know who's actually being taken. Like I said, when you and I were talking, 98% of abductees don't know they've been taken. Yeah. So, oh no, now we have started a panic in our country. And then there's going to be a secondary panic when people start looking at people thinking, well, they might be with the aliens. They might have been taken, They might, because, no one's going to trust aliens because with governmental disclosure, there's no real proof to start off with. And more than that, there's no way for them to convince the general population that these guys are friendly. So if without proving to us they're friendly, there's going to be panic on our planet. It's going to start here, and then it's going to spread to the other 8 billion people on this planet. And remember, most of that 8 billion people do not believe in extraterrestrials. I'd say it's probably 60-40 these days. It could even be 50-50, but it's probably more like 60-40. But when you start talking about the Christian and Muslim religions, which make up almost 4 billion people, they're not going for this. Okay, and then there's a couple of other religions that you throw in there that make 5.5 billion people. They're not going for this. So that leaves us 3.5 billion people. Okay, well, if Alfred Weber's math was right, about 1.5 billion people are being taken off and on from birth to death. So that still leaves another 1.5 billion that are going to be up in the air not knowing what to think. And some of them may become violent. Some of them may be out in the streets with the end is coming. Some of them may try to become investigators to see if they can figure out what's going on, but there won't be any just peace. Disclosure, it's hard to make people understand, but you can't just come out and say, okay, they're here and they're taking our citizens. No one in this country, especially in this country, is going to go for that. The Russians aren't going to go for it. Neither the Chinese people. They're going to be like, what do you mean we're being taken? No one on this planet is really going to be settling that some race from another world or another time or another dimension is here taking our citizen and performing, well, not fun experiments on them and then keeping them off and on for life. So it's a hard sell. And I tried to get that across to all the disclosure people because I've worked with all of them for many, many years. And with the other problem with the exopolitics is they think that they're going to dictate the questions and answers to the extraterrestrials. Get the bleep out of here, man. It's not going to happen like that. You're not going to go tell the Greys, oh, this, no. They're going to be telling you what's going on. So, and that's another thing that's going to bring fear into humans. But without the aliens themselves disclosing themselves, it's going to be too mixed worldwide. A lot of people are going to think it's a hoax, or they're going to think, oh, Donald Trump's finally flipped out, and this, that, and the other thing's going to be said, and there'll be some evidence out there, but there won't be enough. It's really harsh for them to really come out and prove this. Now, extraterrestrial disclosure is different because they've already disclosed. As far as ET is concerned, they have disclosed to everybody who wants to, the 1.5 billion people and their children that are being taken. That's their disclosure. They don't really give a good bleep if the rest of the planet knows because they kind of consider the rest of the planet cannon fodder. They're useless to them. Is what it comes down to. So they're not evil and vicious, but they do know what's coming. And unfortunately, some people are just not going to be able to be saved for whatever's happening. So, so now you've got this contactee group, which will probably be around 3 billion, whatever happens. And which is a good colony. That's a good place to start a couple of colonies off of Earth with 3 billion people. We gifted 3 billion people. I mean, that's not a bad way to start. The rest of them, well, you're going to make good fertilizer. That's all I can tell you. So why? Well, you see my point. Why would ET want to come out and disclose this? I mean, if you were ET, would you want to come out and say, well, we like these guys and we're going to help save these guys for whatever comes down in the future. But the rest of you are just going to be fertilized. Shit. Mm-hmm. I can see how 5 billion people on this planet are going to react, man. So it's a hard. I mean, how do you come out with disclosure? And I've asked Stephen this many times. I'm like, how does disclosure come out? I mean, just because the government says it's there, and you watch what they've been doing in Congress, and this has been going on off and on for a decade. So you go out and look and see how many people has that convinced. Well, depending on what polling company you use, it's anywhere from 30% to 50% believe that there are extraterrestrials, but there's a catch. Only 15% of them actually believe they're coming here. So now you're kind of like, all right, well, at least 50% believe that there is extraterrestrials. That's a start. But 15% or 20% coming here, that's it's just a hard sell. And I want disclosure. I mean, I'd like to see it in my lifetime. What I'm hoping happens, and this is what I've always said, is this desensitization program. I'm thinking we'll actually first get to see a Martian life on Mars. And then it'll help to make it easier for humans to understand, because we've been on the desensitization program. All of this is part of getting out there and disclosing. So they started out a long time ago with just little TV shows, little movies, and it just grew and grew until sci-fi. And then we have near now sci-fi, which is all over the place, showing things that are coming, how we're going to be interacting with extraterrestrials, and not in a harmful way. Also, our keychains, our food, even our toilet paper have extraterrestrials on them these days. So we're slowly being desensitized. And now it looks like we may have found artifacts on Mars. We've definitely found water on Mars, and where there's water and atmosphere, that we're pretty sure we're going to find life on Mars. So that'll be the first extraterrestrial life. It may not be intelligent, but it will prove to us that there is life on other worlds, which will be the next step. And then the next step after that, either way, will be an artifact. Either before or after that, they're going to find something that proves that some intelligent species existed prior to us. And then we're going to be, okay, well, all right, because none of these are a threat. finding alien life on a planet is not a threat, and finding a ruin on Mars that's 100 million years old or 10 million years old is not a threat to us. But it does prove that it exists. So these are things that help us to accept without feeling threatened. And then you know what's going to hit the fan, because the next step has got to be a real live. Hey, Mr. Trump, how you doing? I'm Mr. Bob DeGray. You know, that's what Joe calls me anyway. Man. It's just going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, it definitely is. There's, yep, that thought went away.
Take your time, man.
That's horrible. Okay, I know what I was going to say. I was going to say that there's all the speculation, and you know, I tend to agree with your analysis. I think discovery through the lens of one of our probes on Mars, for example, would probably be the best first step. But if we're going to have someone shaking the president's hand, for example, if not, I don't know, probably the president's hand, is it going to be someone like Bob, or is it going to be a Nordic person, or is it going to be a reptilian, or what do you think?
Well, the Greys are the most advanced out of the bunch, except for the light beings. The Greys are by far the most advanced. They make the humans and reptilians look silly, but the reptilians and humans have the most face time on our planet. So if you go back in the ancient world, Greys don't show up until about 3,000 years ago, right around the time of Christ, or right slightly before the time of Christ, the Greys show up. Before that, there's no pictures or hieroglyphs or anything with the Greys, but there's lots of the humans with the big long back heads, and the reptilians. They're all over the place. I mean, pretty much Mesopotamia was just reptilian is what it was. When you look at all their pictures and stuff, winged reptilians. Matter of fact, the Sumerians had quite a few reptilians involved, but they also had the humans with the big heads, but the Egyptians topped it off. They had a bunch of their pharaohs the heads were like this. So when you look at a human alien, if you look at them like this, they look like us. They're bigger than, but they're proportioned. You know, they're 6 to 7 foot tall. So they're proportioned to their size, but they look like us. But if they turn their head, then their head extends back a good foot. So you can definitely tell they're different. And there was lots of ancient pharaohs that looked like that, and also the Nazcans used to board their children to look like that. So the human aliens were accepted on this planet in several places, but then the reptilians were all over as well. So it looks like the human aliens got here first, and then the reptilians came home and said, well, wait a minute, this is not your planet, and decided, well, we're just going to interbreed with their slaves and give them sentient, which created us, or the beginning of us anyway. But we are that species that threw the aliens out of Samaria. That's what people don't realize. There was a rebellion, and that was us. It wasn't the original ones that lived there that worked and plowed the fields and ate. That was just the first creation of us, or the end of the 7 creations of man, actually. And then when the reptilians started interbreeding with the Sumerians slaves, that created the race that's here today. The race that we all know as the human race.
That's intriguing.
The race that has that little reptilian section in their brain. I have won so much money off that reptilian section. It's so funny. I'll be doing a lecture. I was Tulane University, Ivy League school, man. Ivy League school. An English lit teacher and 2 of his things. There's no we don't have reptilian in us. I looked over at him. I said, you're kidding me, right? You're teasing me, right? He said, no, you're teasing me. I said, Siri, reptilian section in our brain, because I had my pad on the desk with me. It just starts talking away, and they're like, what? I said, first off, I can't believe you didn't know that. I mean, this is Ivy League school. Everybody in this audience should know this. I mean, you should have learned this way back before you got to this part of your life. They were just done. And I said, without that, we're not the human race that we would be. It counts for a lot of different things in our brain. It's not even that big of a section, but it's a section. It is a section that makes us sentient, that makes us self-aware.
Yeah.
That's the most important part of it. But it is also the flight and fight part of the section too. So, you know, it gave us the ability to stand up for ourselves. It gave us the ability to say no, which we didn't have before that section came in. So it's interesting, but it also messes up with the theory of evolution, because if we came from some type of mammal reptilian hybrid thing back in the past, and we grew from that, then the aliens wouldn't have had to introduce it to us, and we wouldn't have been a little wussy of a species to start off with. So, boy, evolution people, they really do. They because it's a way to put it in there without it having to start out from the beginning. And since we know that Rh negative blood only showed up 40 or 50,000 years ago, some people say as early as 20, but 40 to 50,000 years ago, it suggests something interfered with us. Because I can't see Mother Nature, I can't see Gaia creating something that's going to, because she could have created it to be as useful as it was without it being something that killed babies. And I would have figured that's how our planet would have done it. But something like this seemed like this was done intentionally, almost to show you there's a separation. No, people, I'm not starting to try a revolution. The negatives versus the positives. We don't want to go there.
Yeah, don't do that.
We don't want to go there.
Heidi brings up an interesting point about the Arcturians, and I guess we're wondering, or she's wondering, whether the Arcturians play into this at all.
Well, who do you think the Arcturians are? Answer that question for me, and I'll tell you. See, this is the problem when we use to describe different aliens, because different people think they mean different things. I've heard the Greys call 5 different things. I'm like, come on, people, stop that. Because I just call them, and that's the reason I call them Greys, humans, and reptilians, because it just gets confusing in the other way. Because there is too many. But who do you think they are? Do you think they're the human aliens? Do you think they're the reptilian aliens? Do you think they're the Grey aliens? Because there's really no other aliens allowed to do abductions on this planet. And there's not many other aliens get to visit. As far as we know, there's only 7 types that come here. And the light beings come very rarely. And the browns only come when there's a mess up. So 2 of those 7 species. Well, the tall whites from Charles Hall, that seems to be entirely something different.
Arcturus from the 9th. A higher being. Okay.
Well, the Greys would have killed them if they were here.
I'll put that up for people to see.
So I don't even know what the 9th dimension would be, because it either would be a dimensional crossover, or it'd be a different galaxy. So that's because it gets a little sketchy when you get into dimensions, because sometimes you're actually in a different galaxy that's in a different dimension, which changes everything.
That's what she describes.
Which changes everything, but they still wouldn't be allowed on Earth. The reptilians or the humans or the Greys would have probably killed them. The Greys would have for sure. Because as far as the council is concerned, there's only these types of aliens allowed to be here and nobody else. This is whatever kind of planet they call it, where we're under development and you're not allowed to just come and visit and poke around and stick your nose into our business. So it's a very sketchy little thing. I don't rule out anything because I wasn't there at the time. And I don't know what people are describing. And for today, people to be writing about something from the past without the knowledge of being there, it's hard to do. I think a lot of people take a lot of liberties, to be honest with you. Because we only do alien stuff from our actual knowledge that we've learned from all the different contactees and our government connections. That's the only thing we use. And, of course, in ancient history, because that's where you need to start. And I tell this to people all the time. Even if you want disclosure, you need to start in the ancient worlds and work your way forward so you actually understand who and what it is you're talking about and where these different aliens showed up on our planet and for what reasons. Why were there so many reptilians involved, like in Mesopotamia, and all of South America, pretty much? Why was it like that? Why were the humans in Samaria and Egypt and skipped over Mesopotamia? What happened there? It just seems to be. It makes you wonder what's going on. And then the Greys show up, and they don't really pick a region. They just start taking away stuff from the reptilians and humans because they're seen everywhere. So what's funny about this, if you really get down to do the research, you'll find that there's actually areas on this planet where you don't see human aliens or reptilian aliens, but you see Greys everywhere. They're little pains in the asses is what they are. or big pains in it. We'll have to check into it. I don't know.
That's an interesting thing. Let me read it for radio audience. Heidi says, "I've been drawn to a twinkling red yellow white star for over 7 years. I had several Arcturian synchronicities, and then looked up. Behold, lo and behold, it was Arcturus, and she said she could literally kind of feel them.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's,
well, a lot of people think the Arcturians.
Who's seen the other guys?
Yeah, well, a lot of people think the Arcturians are either
the Air Force guys. I don't know.
Yeah, well, no, but I know a lot of people think that a lot of the tall white people think the Arcturians are tall whites, and a lot of the people working in the abduction field for human aliens think that they're the Arcturians. See, that's what the problem was. Is some of these aliens got labeled with 3 or 4 names on them, like the Zeta Reticulans. And none of these aliens that are visiting this planet live close to us. So there's only 2 things, really. This is something we talked about last night, but there's only really 2 things. According to the Greys, they're from the other side of the galaxy, where the light beams came in, because light beams aren't even from our galaxy. They were from a different galaxy. They came here from a dying galaxy and enhanced the Greys so that they could stop the warring factions in this galaxy. And we know there's lots of talk about wars and stuff like that. And a lot of times they try to put it in today's time, but it's not in today's time. It was in past time. But a lot of that came into be. And knowing all that can help you get to help people educated so you can have some type of disclosure. But really and truly what we're going to need is we're going to need Uncle Trump, maybe the French president, maybe Putin, maybe Ping, and 2 or 3 Greys, maybe a reptilian and human, just to stand there and say, "Hi, guess what? We're all friends now." Yeah. I'm not saying how that's going to work. I don't even think aliens trust the Russians or the Chinese. So how can you have disclosure when the aliens don't even trust the people? And to be honest with you, I don't think they trust us either. I don't think we're any more trustworthy than the Chinese or the Russians. So right. If you're an advanced
perhaps
species,
the lesser of the 2 of the 3 evils, but
yeah, and not that much lesser either. So I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, you've got to get. I mean, disclosure cannot just be from the government, because too many people are not going to believe it. They're going to say it's some ploys to take over or something, it's just you're going to need something more. And now that we have drones, I don't even know if UFOs over the White House is going to do it. I'm not sure how this is going to work. It's I guess what you're going to really need is the Greys to come in and take over all the televisions and radios around the world and do a simulcast at the same time.
People of Earth.
That will show true power. That's something nobody can do today. So that would show true power. And probably scared of Jesus out of half the people on the planet. But a little fear is not a bad thing. Until we start shooting at them, and then it's going to be a bad thing. That's the other problem.
Don't fire at the aliens, man.
Yeah, that's the other problem. You, Greg, will be walking down the street, somebody's just going to pull out a gun and cap him. I just don't know how this is going to work. I want disclosure, people. I would like to see, because at some point in the past, the ETs walked amongst us openly. Not just in the recent past, within 3,000 years, because they did it with the Mesoamericans. They did it with the Native Americans. They did it with all kind of people from before 3,000 years ago, with the Egyptians, the Sumerians, the Aztecs. They did it with a lot of people. And think about it. The Aztecs, they were far more violent than we are, and they still walked amongst them. But they won't do it with us. Why? I mean, what is the difference?
Too technologically advanced, really. I don't know. Maybe we can do some damage. Who knows?
I wouldn't doubt it. See, my thing is, I've never thought we couldn't kill an alien. They're supposed to be able to upload their consciousness if they die. So, I mean, we can't actually kill it completely, but we could destroy its body. But then you may have pissed off somebody because you destroyed its favorite body or something, and they had to upload to a new one. I'm not sure if I want to take those kind of chances. Even though, I'm sure he'd be less angry because he has a new body, but still, I don't know, guys. Messing with aliens is iffy, iffy.
Yeah, that's a strange one.
But
That's a strange one.
But if any president that we've had in the last 50 years, Trump would probably be the one because he doesn't really believe. He's not a believer like the Clintons were. It's not that he doesn't think aliens don't exist. He does, but he's not convinced that they're doing things on planet Earth. That's his own words, by the way. But he has said many times he has no problem releasing any documentation that would prove extraterrestrials are real. But I've noticed something when he releases stuff, which is cool that he does, like the Kennedy stuff. But what came out of the Kennedy stuff? Did you see anything in there that was new or different? Or there was new stuff, but it wasn't anything that changed anything. Confused some stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know what to make of it. And then we do notice still
some of that footage looked a little suspicious to me.
Yeah, and that's true too. So we don't know what went on there either. So I don't know, guys. Yeah. I want disclosure. I'm just not, sending people to talking to the government is. No, I have. Whoever just sent me that text. No, I have talked to the government. It's not that. It's just, what are they going to do with it? So you had people like Koresh over there, or whatever his name was. He's an idiot. So he goes in front of Congress. He has no firsthand experience. First rule right off the bat, boom. No firsthand experience, no talking to Congress. Okay, no. If you have not seen an alien, seen a UFO, worked with them, been on a big nope, that's a red flag. That's a Stephen Greer trying to get his value up in money, or getting some more elections, having this guy making money for him. The guy said too many things. Come on. He said they had 78 aliens or 78 craft. He said every third craft came in and crashed and they recovered it. I mean, really? So what you're telling me is they got a worse flight record than the FAA does by far at this point, and they're still sending aliens over? I'm like, no. Who comes up with this kind of stuff? Everything he knew was either most of it was third-hand information. It wasn't even secondhand. Most of it was third-hand. Now you had the three pilots, which pilots are great because pilots are they're very observant and they're going to tell you what they saw. But they can't really come to any conclusions. They just saw something that is very advanced, probably not from here, but you can't rule it out 100% because with drone technology now, we have the ability to do things we didn't before, pulling G's that we couldn't do because there's nobody on board these craft.
Oh, sure.
Speeds that we couldn't pull. I mean, we have supersonic jets now, and if there's no people in it, we can go even faster. So there are things that we can do, but things like what they described in the Foo Fighters, they did stuff that we still even today can't repeat. Get close now. We get a lot closer today. We can do loop-to-loops around jets, but we can't keep up with a drone with a jet flying full speed, so it's not going to happen. But we can't. They can't really how long they could dodge bullets. I don't know, but these things weren't even afraid of bullets. Matter of fact, some of the Foo Fighter, some of the.
Well, did they spit them back at the one guy from Blue Book?
I don't know. I know. On the bombers, they said that it was a waste of ammo. Sometimes you'd see them bounce off. Sometimes it looked like they would just disintegrate. Sometimes they would just disappear. A couple of them got ricocheted back, so that I think it became a standing order not to shoot at them. And it wasn't just a standing order in our military; it was everybody's military. Remember, people, it wasn't just the United States or our allies. Our enemies saw them as well. The Russians saw them. The Germans saw them. The Japanese definitely saw them. They reported them many times, but even the Italians,
Japanese. Yeah.
So I mean, these were things that were being reported by every active military that had in-flight things going on. No one was able to bring one down. No one still to this day knew what they were, but they were there. So, and you can't say they weren't because there was too many witnesses. There's even videotape of some of them.
Well, there were some photographs that came out too. I mean, the photographic evidence was really hard to fake back then.
So if that doesn't, so think about this. This is the end of the war. We're coming close to the end of the war. We have all this information now, all this stuff we brought back from Germany. That would have been the perfect time for some sort of disclosure. Like, the Germans had gotten hold of some alien technology, but now we've got it. It's safer now. We still haven't seen the aliens yet, but we know that they were here. So that would make people nervous, but not completely nervous because they're not here right now, as far as I know. I mean, you're going to have to break us into it a little at a time because we're just not ready. Religion sort of allows for it. Well, the Christian religion sort of allows for it. The Jews kind of already have dealt with it because of the jinns and stuff like that being in the Middle East. But
Yeah.
and there are some places where they talk about these big Borg-looking things that the Jews talk about. So I think they'll be a little bit more open to accepting it. The Christians and the Muslims are going to have a hard time. I mean, they're just going to have a hard. I mean, I'm talking about the true Christians and Muslims. I'm not talking about the wannabes. Just the true ones. 3.5 billion people are just going to be like, no. And what always bothers me about this is because it always bothers me, first off, that you people put limitations on the creator. Shame on you. So anytime you say, oh, no, it can't be, bullshit. It's the creator of the universe. It created us and create anything. I mean, we may just be one of many mistakes as far as we know. He might just be going along creating till it gets to the perfect race. So you better watch what y'all talking about. It's a hard thing to understand, but you can't limit the creator because, I mean, the creator can create anything he wants. So the fact that he may have created races before us that are older, wiser, and smarter is not something you should not be thinking didn't happen. Besides that, the Catholics admit to that. So Father Malducci's already admitted to. He admitted to me when we were talking. That's a whole recorded conversation with Piola Harris translating it. And then the two Vatican astronomers I met, they admitted to it. One of the bishops admitted to it. But more so than that, one of the big ones came out and said right after the Pope was brought in that yes, it's the Vatican is aware of extraterrestrial life. His words, not mine. And they do think that this extraterrestrial life is higher plane with God than we are. Their words. That's because they're so much older than we are that they think that's where they are. And maybe they are. I don't know. I mean, I've never asked, hey, Mr. Gray, what God do you believe in again? Not yours, Joe. I can hear that. We believe in Heidi's God. We're Arcturians,
man. I like it. There's I'm sure you've seen those supposed Area 51 files. They're black and white, and they're talking to a grave, and he's got this deep modulated voice. It seems kind of fake to me. What's your opinion on that, real quick?
That's a whole problem. So, okay, according to released papers a while back, there was supposed to be 3 grades: EV1, EV2, and this guy here, Jabba Jaw, whatever the hell they called him. And my problem is we had better video back then than that. You know, I mean, I seen moon shots. I mean, I just and this is an enclosed room with probably whatchamacallit cameras. So it just should have been better than that. Even if they were holding a held hand, even if it was a reel to reel held hand, it should have been better than that. It's almost like it was made choppy, so you couldn't actually covered the flaws. That's the only thing I can say. J-Rod is probably fake too. J-Rod kind of looked like a puppet. I didn't have anything against it personally. It's something about the way his head moved. Looked like it had a stick in it or something. Look, I'm not I can only tell you, oh, you talking about pervert boys? Oh, no, I busted him right off the bat. Oh, no. I can't even think of his name right now. Because I called him pervert boy, so I forgot his name. We'll put his name up there. He was real famous. He had the alien was peeking in his window, and his wife's name was Lisa. Oh, I can't think of his name now. Anyway, we probably shouldn't use his name anyway, but because he went to jail for pedophilia. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's not true. He did not. I'm going to get sued. He went to jail for buying kitty porn online. We might as well get it correct. And I can't remember his name. Anyway, he was famous. I mean, Piola Harris, all of them, all the big time ufologists were courting him around. Because I called him a liar like the second time I met him, but because I'm an ass like that. It took me all of 5 minutes to debunk the pictures, and then I said, okay, even though I get degrees in this, I'm going to go ahead and send them over to McAfee and let him do it. He calls me. He said, why did you send me Joe's? Obviously a hoax. I said that. I said, but nobody wants to accept it from me. I said, you need to come out and say they're a hoax. And then, so of course he did. He's like, oh no, these were hoax. And what is his name? Steve? No, not Steve. Anyway, I know his wife's name is Lisa. Stan Romanek. There it
Okay,
goes.
I just want to get your
Oh,
take.
Brand. So
Okay, there you go.
he's he was all over the place. Oh yes, and I did. I mean, I didn't know he was in that other stuff, but I remember when the first time I seen his stuff, I'm like, dude, you're full of it. And then I busted him. I called him out on air. Look, I said, let me tell you why I know this is a fake, and I walked through it with him. And I noticed a couple of weeks later he had another one show up, and all those things were gone. I was like, dude, you busted. I'm like, just leave it go. I said, whether you're, because contactees, unfortunately, sometimes will make stuff up because once they've come out, they get all that attention and everything, they get used to it. But you only get as much attention, as much new stuff as you put out, unfortunately. And so a lot of times it goes away. So they fake. That's what happened with Michael Horn's boy, Billy Myers. I liked Billy, but and a lot of Billy stuff is legit, but his last pictures weren't. He stopped being able to get good photos, so he hoaxed 3 or 4 of his photos, and you could tell he hoaxed them, especially the one with the one in front of the tree, because the sizes are disproportionate with the tree, and that's the first one that got him busted. And I was like, Billy, why'd you do that? And Michael's trying to defend. I said, Michael, they're fake. I said, we're not going to argue about that part. I said, I believe that Billy Myers is a contactee. I just want to know why he did this. And I mean, I already kind of had an idea, but still. But he said a lot of other stuff, like being at one time he was Jesus, one time he was Mohammed, and all kind of lovely stuff. And there's a lot of people out there that say that kind of stuff. Apparently, there was a lot of reincarnations of Jesus at one time, and he must have been like really confused because there were so many of them at one time. No, I'm not being serious. No, people, I can't help it. I just, it's how it works out. It's like one of the favorite people in reincarnation when you, not reincarnation, but when you do past live dreams. King James and King James and King Edwards is one of the favorite ones. I mean, literally thousands of people have said that the reincarnation. Well, you see people makes me kind of wonder about reincarnation. Apparently, there's some issues going on. And maybe there's from all worlds and all different universes y'all being sent here. I don't know. I'm just trying to help you out.
Who knows?
Number one thing for disclosure, honesty, and no more bullshit like what we seen with Stephen Greer and what's his name. Those witnesses, those Air Force witnesses were good. The Navy and Air Force pilots were good witnesses. They told you what they saw. They went through it in detail. Very skilled at what their job is. Very, very ranked, very high. So you can believe everything they said. And they don't think it was from Earth. But they didn't tell you that they were. And if you listen to them, and that's what's so funny. Because when what's his name is describing these craft, you've seen 2 of the pilots looking at him like, there's no way, dude. These things were whooping our asses all over the place, doing backflips, spinning around, and pushing us up in the air with their own thrust. And there's just no way. You could see the pilot's eye literally going, this guy is full of it. And they were just witnesses on the same thing for them. But you could just see it in their face when he was giving these descriptions, like, well, what aliens are you dealing with? It's not the ones we're dealing with. So, so people like him, and the first time when they had the first one a couple of months back or a year ago, one of the witnesses in there was also had never been involved. It was third hand. So Greer brings you these third hand witnesses, and I don't even know why Congress puts up with it. All this is so he can write another book or get another. So Koresh went on the dimensional thing, saying they were for dimension. So Greer for the last 3 years has been pushing this. The grays are from this dimension and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden here he's got a witness on the stand saying that to Congress, a third hand witness on the stand saying that to Congress. So right there I knew his theory was completely wrong. And if you gotta lie, stop. Just say you don't know what the hell it is. I mean, we're all there's lots of stuff there's lots of stuff I know about the aliens, and there's lots of stuff I'm like, what the bleep. Still, as many agendas that my organization works on, I'm still scratching my head about the ones that we haven't even touched yet. And we're sitting there going, why would they do this? Why would they do that? Why do they test people for this? Why are they so nice to kids and then so rough and pure? I mean, there's just so many things we want to know. And a lot of these we're not going to know until we make contact. Well, hey, Mr. Gray, why'd you do that,
Yeah.
Mr. Gray? That was kind of mean, you know. He's gonna be like, "Shut up, dude. You want to be the next one?" No, we're good.
He'll send Bob to your house. Look out.
Bob turns into a real one when we're not around. He puffs up. He just stays like that. He said he anytime we're logged in, he said all the people that are logged on he can scan. I was like, sorry, people, y'all being scanned.
I like it.
Don't worry about it. He only bites if you ask.
He's that kind of alien. Got it.
He's a little weird. I can't tell you, a strange alien. Oh man.
So okay, let's look at disclosure's been surrounding surrounding the UFO matter, the UAP matter, whatever you want to call it. What about the other disclosure bits? Bigfoot, Loch Ness, all those other things. Is this going to just domino, or
well, so when we found that
there's other parts of disclosure.
Well, there's lots of, but like once we found that Bigfoot tasted good, he stopped showing up. He's like, nope. We caught one down in the Sabine River Valley heading for lunch. That was it. They never came out again. They're like, we're going whatever planet they came from originally. They went back to. And I'm joking, people, but if you've noticed, Bigfoot sightings have all but gone away. The hard thing to answer. I got several friends that so the Sabine River Valley is basin is next to. It's in between Louisiana and Texas, and it's one of the places Bigfoot has seen the most, and there's a lot of swamp down there, a lot of places to hide. And then after that, I think it's somewhere up in Washington State. But the problem is, and then in California. But the problem is there hasn't been that many sightings. But you know what? In all fairness, there hasn't been that many UFO sightings either. It kind of makes me wonder if things are winding down and if we should be worried. Because if you go back, so when we're 2025, so if you go back to 1970. In 1980, you will see there are more UFO pictures taken then than there is now. And remember, there's 4 billion cameras walking around on the planet today, and good ones. I mean, come on, this thing's got a 128 megapixel camera in it. It puts them things in the 70s to shame, and in the 80s to shame, and still the amount of UFO pictures are they're just not manifesting. We look for them all the time. You can go online, and right now you can go and do UFO search for so you might see 20 new ones, maybe even 30 new ones over the last 50 years. But if you go back before that, there'll be 50, 100 of them. Why? So it was the contactees back there smarter or whacking pitches faster. I'm sure some of them were hoaxes, but still. You know how much easier it is to hoax a UFO today, especially now we got AI. I mean, Jesus, it's.
Oh, I know.
I am getting a little worried that because there's a lot of things that's even. So I was talking with someone, I was talking with Netflix about it because we were thinking about doing I was doing a gig with them. We're thinking about doing something else, and then I might do it inside the organization if I can get enough people together. But I was talking with them, and we had noticed. We were talking about paranormal stuff because he said, you own a paranormal radio network, you got a lot of stuff. I said, yeah, but even the ghosties don't seem to be as active as they used to be. And he's like, what do you mean? I said,
that's super true.
It is. And I said, I don't know how to explain. I said, maybe they're crossing over faster. Maybe they're getting tired of being put on TV. I said, if I had an answer for it, I'd probably be rich. And I said, I got a lot of people working on these questions, but why is activity slowing down? Now, some people will argue with me, but when they do, the first thing that comes out of their mouth, well, prove me wrong. Show me. We live in the show me world, man. This isn't the old days. This is the internet. You can show me instantly. Joe, shut up here. I'm going to show you right now. And then you can shut me up. But you have to show me. So, but nobody really can. So it's bothering me. And I just broke out with the paranormal stuff with some of our higher people in the network and some friends of mine who have been working with me a long time. And they're the same way. Nobody wanted to say anything until I did. And they're all like, Joe, it just seems everything seems to be slow. What do you mean Donald Trump cost? Who the hell sent me that Donald Trump? I'm going to keep that from use that on Friday night. Okay? Yeah, no, Ronnie. I seen who it was. Yeah. So it's Ronnie. I'm going to use that on Friday night. Say, Ronnie said, it's because, might as well. I don't know people, but it does seem weird. and maybe it's going to slow down enough that it makes disclosure easier. We need for the people of this planet to come to some kind of plateau, some kind of balance. Heidi, you still around? You feel balanced today? Because when I ask most people, they look at me like I'm stupid. What do you mean balance? I said, do you feel balanced in your life daily? They look at me again like, Joe, what are you talking? I said, balance. Oh, shut. And I'm like, what do you mean? And I get cursed at. No, I'm serious. See, I just got her act together.
Yeah. And
you like yes. She's like one in every 100 million. But Heidi does seem like she got to act together. I see her posting a lot, so she seems like she does. But a lot of people are they're off on one part or the other. Might be with the kids, might be with the spouse, might be with the dogs, might be with life itself, might be with the aliens. It just seems like somewhere in their life they're off keel for some reason or another. And Kirby, why don't y'all go in the chat room? So
thanks.
It would be nice because Tim could. No, we're on. You can go to. I threw up one of the Rumble pages, and I know we're on News on the Flip Side, iCar. We're on Paranormal Insight.
You can go to my website as well, or to my YouTube.
And then we're also on the other two YouTube pages. I don't know. The UFO gods and extraterrestrials are so hard to find. Don't ask me. You got to ask YouTube about that. I mean, it's just hard to find over there. That's why we started using Rumble more. It's Rumble seems to be starting to work well. Eventually, we'll get all the hosts on. So on the eyeball side, crazy thing. Just before I came on, I decided to check our standings on the UFO radio. So we're number one on the second page, which is really good. So in the old days, we used to be number one on the first page. Actually, usually the first 5. So I'm glad to see us moving back up that ladder in that direction. So if you're typing UFO radio or paranormal radio, it makes it easy to find us. I guess we need to put Heidi on her own show, huh?
Heidi's amazing. She's helping me. She's been stumping for me for the past few months. She works better than most of the marketers I know.
She's hard working, man.
She's amazing. Yeah, find Heidi Galt, you can find our links. Yeah, so if you want to look her up on Facebook.
Michelle and I were talking about her last night, actually. And she's a hard worker. Who Michelle's balanced? Who said that? Michelle's crazy. What are you talking about? She is like, that's why I like her, man, because she's crazy. She is, y'all. Just warning y'all.
Yeah, I hear you.
She's she's a good friend of mine, so I can pick on her. And she's a Canadian.
She's super.
Canadians are on my list to pick on right now. So, sorry, guys. It's just how it is. Trump told me I had to pick on the Canadians for the next couple of months. Don't ask me. I don't know. He said to pick on them, Joe.
By presidential decree.
Remember this. I'm a Coonass, so technically I'm a Acadian anyway. I'm a Acadian, so, yes, we're related. Acadians and Cajuns are related. So technically I'm a Canadian. Anyway, they might be the first to disclose. We always talk about the U.S. being the first to disclose, but it doesn't have to be us. Yeah. Oh no, Michelle's great, and she does bring in a lot of people. It's but we don't have to. I don't see if Russia gets it. I don't know if we're going to believe it. Xi Jinping, you would want to think, but still, he's still. Maybe Egon, the French guy, he might be able to come out and say, "Hey, look at this." But the Saudi prince, I don't know if we're going to believe the Saudi prince. The Israelis, I don't know Israelis either. It's besides Israelis won't say it's an alien; they'll say it's something else. Europe, maybe the EU comes out and say, "Hey, we know extraterrestrials are real now." Actually,
the French have been pretty heavy on their personal disclosure in their country. Yeah. So the Germans and them.
Marley, you can save that for tomorrow night about the Germans. We'll talk about that tomorrow night. It's not for this kind of show. No, sorry. People get confused these days when they see me. And then they just, there's a lot going on in Germany right now, but it's nothing to do with UFOs and stuff. I mean, there's UFO stuff going on over there too, but there's a lot of other stuff going on that the U.S. isn't real happy with.
Yeah, there is.
Well, no, so if you want the story real quick, so probably around 1890 to 1900, an alien showed up to Germany, because Germany was the most advanced country on the planet by far. We weren't even close, actually. We were working on stuff they were, but we were still a decade behind them. I don't hate to be hard on our country, but we were. They were the most. So they say that this alien race gave them a saucer. And then from 1911 to I think 1913 or 1916, they tried building flying saucers. First one was a tank. This is a round tank with a big cross on it and some guns on front and back. But it had guns all the way around. And then they tried to build a jet. And think about this. They were trying to build a jet saucer in 1912. That tells you right off the bat how much freaking further advanced than when we were. And then they had a boat, another type of aircraft, and then some kind of weird shaped original. All of these were designed off this UFO that they had got. The problem for them is anything inside the UFO was well beyond any technologies they understood. They hung on to it. Vernon von Braun was the next one to look at it. And Vernon actually admits to seeing this, by the way. And he's how I found out that the United States had it, through a conversation he had with his I like to call her his number one. And Carol Rosin was the girl that worked for his number one. So, but long story short, he actually admitted to seeing this advanced saucer, and they were told, he had advanced propulsion systems on this. The guy, whoever got it, had seen it in action, but was dead by then. So they were trying to design things from it, but nothing. They still didn't understand how anything worked. Well, when the U.S. when they cut the deal with Vernon to come get him and the other scientists, Vernon von Braun told the U.S. about this saucer. So when they they retrieved the scientists in groups. They retrieved one of them somehow or another. They retrieved the saucer and brought it to, guess where? Roswell, where they crashed the damn thing, and everybody kept saying aliens crashed it. So they got it there. They got it there. If I remember the story right from the nurse and the other lady who was there, if I got the story right, 3 Grays showed up out of nowhere, landed a craft on the backside of Area 51, was escorted to where this thing was in the hangar, and they said, "Look, we will try to help y'all understand how this craft works, so you can try to develop stuff in the future." Since we got our hands on it, they figured, okay, we'll let them, because we're pretty sure the human aliens had stole the human aliens had stole the gray saucer, and that's what they gave to the Germans. They didn't give them one of their ships. They gave them one of their ships. So anyway, the Grays get there. So the Grays didn't reclaim their ship. They said, okay, we're going to try to work with you. They all got in the ship. I think it was 4 or 5 humans and 3 Grays. They took it off, and the humans were flying it. And from the way the report goes, quite well. And then one of the humans, because it runs off of telepathy, I guess got sidetracked or got distracted is the word they used, and they crashed the son of a bitch into it. Well, none of the humans were actually in any type of harness, so when they hit the ground, no inertial dampeners, was pretty much much. Yep. And there was also a radiation leak. Well, the Grays had already hit used the escape pod or whatever, the shuttle out, and that's what landed on Mac Brazel's ranch. And that's why it broke up so easily, because it was not made like a interstellar craft would be made. It was just like some kind of escape pod or some type of shuttlecraft. So it broke up on impact. And one of the Grays was found alive. The other 2, well, from what I understand, were pretty messed up. They retrieved all the debris. And that Gray didn't live for that much longer either. And then those hikers, the Cub Scouts the Boy Scouts found the other craft in Sedona, Arizona. Not Sedona. Starts with
Aurora.
C. Oh, yeah, Aurora. Okay. And so they found the other one, which was actually brought in. It was found intact with no damage to the exterior whatsoever. But they did find 4 human bodies outside of the craft, kind of like melting. No one knows how the bodies got out of the craft. Did they walk out on their own? There was nothing else found when they took the craft. And by the time they did say there was high radiation count, but it was diminishing quickly. And then they pulled up, and there's actually pictures of this thing on a flatbed being taken out. So it was probably the size. Well, they had 2 flatbeds together, and it was sitting on them, and it was being taken out. And then it was so heavy. Eventually, they had to bring in helicopters to carry it the rest of the way. But it had actually been seen by other people, so they knew that. And then a good friend of mine, DeAndrew, was friends with the nurse who was getting old, but she was still alive, and they were still friends. And they talked a lot about what was seen, what was heard, what was there, what was not there. So that's why she used to take on Stan Friedman all the time, because she actually knew more than he did. And they used to get into the debate all the time about it. Stan hated it, man. He loved her to death. Don't get me wrong. Stan thought she was great because she knew more than he did. Stan didn't like to lose, though. I gotta be honest with you. He wasn't big on losing an argument, but it was fun to listen to him. It was a lot. And those, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, those archives are still available even today. You can go catch them. It was "Eye to the Sky" was the name of the show. So just look for it and the ones with Stanton. But those are really good. So
Eyes in the
now
sky.
we had, So now we had an idea that we were given this craft, and we crashed the craft, and because we could never figure out why the Greys just didn't come get their craft. Why didn't they retaliate for killing one of their people? Why didn't they? Because first it was radar. Okay, what radar? Right. Radar. I mean, radiation in space, radar waves in space are much more intense than you're going to find here on the planet. So they fly through that without any problem.
Uh-huh.
Lightning. I mean, the energy dispensed in space, or even coming through the atmosphere, is way more powerful than lightning is. I'm kind of like, no, I'm just not buying it. Because somebody, well, maybe it was close to ground, lightning hit and pushed it on the ground. Well, that's the possibility, but then that wouldn't allow for the escape craft to get out. It would have been too close to the ground.
Exactly.
And the craft, when it came so much, it was quite a big, 100 miles or so before it came down. I'd have to go look at the distance between the two towns, but it's not just around the corner. So, I mean, we knew that, and then we knew it was just sitting there. And there were several people reported seeing this thing sitting in the hangar at Area 51. First, it was it wasn't even at Area 51. At first, it was in wherever the hell Hangar 18 is. I can't remember the damn Air Force Base now. It was actually there for a while.
Yeah.
And then they took it from there and brought it to Area 51 because too many people were finding out about it, I guess. So then they brought it back out to Area 51. That's where it stayed, and that's where it's at even today. But nobody still can fly it. No one's figured out how to fly. I guess nobody wants to take the chance after what happened to the original crew, at least as far as we know. Now, maybe they are flying it now. Maybe the Greys helped them to figure it out. But it seems like they needed a higher, more intense type telepath than what they were using. That's what it seems like. Because the Greys actually merge with the ship. They get in these little things, and the ship kind of merges with them, and their skins merge together. And they go full telepath. So it's like they're actually a working piece of the ship. So it's kind of different. Gotcha. But the Greys said the humans could actually sit and fly it. There was a way to do it manually. That's what the Greys called it, manually. And I guess that was, if there was only one Grey left, there had to be a way to fly the damn thing besides merging with it. But the merging thing we have heard more times than I can mention. And there have been several humans who have been exposed to this, where they get in this slot and the ship just gets around them. And the humans say it's not so much that they merge with their skin like they do with the Greys, but somehow or another they merge with their psyche, and they can see everything in their head. They can see like the outside of the ship, anything they're thinking about ahead of anything, any destination they want to go, any weapons, anything like that. They can see all of that, and so that's interesting in itself. Which means it means the right
level of integration.
Yeah, so it means that's why Boeing was looking at first, but then the Air Force and Navy ended their remote viewing program and opened up their psychic viewing program. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't even a secret. It was out in the open. They said, hey, the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Navy said, we're going to start looking for psychics. I was like, really? This is like in 2000. I was like, really? Openly, blatantly? That was amazing that they did that. It's still classified, but it does exist. Yeah. The program is classified. The fact that it exists isn't classified. That's how it works. You go try to get inside their stuff. Yeah, some psychic will wipe your brain, man. Wow, what was that? Like the TV show scanners. Frankie, if every world leader stood up together and said aliens are real, maybe, possibly. Maybe. I mean, if the whole UN stood up and said, look, extraterrestrials are real. Here's the proof. Here's pictures of them. Here's what they've done. they're real. Maybe I'm still going to be skeptical. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
Well, because nobody sees them except the people being taken. That's I think that's one of the saving grace for the extraterrestrials is the fact that if you haven't been taken, you're not going to see them. Yeah, or there would be more sightings.
Is true.
You know, and that's really the proof. And I love using that to beat up ufologists with because it's a true statement. If people who, I mean, if you go back to Phoenix Lights or the one in Mexico City or even the Belgium sightings where the thing was floating, a big thing the size of the city was floating over Belgium and only a few people in each city saw it. I mean, some of the cities had a couple 100,000 people in them. Think about this. They scrambled 4 F-16s. Only one pilot seen them.
That's
and the whole time
That's right. I forgot about that.
And he's screaming the whole time, can I engage? Can I engage? Can I engage? And the other 3 pilots are like, what are you talking about? There's nothing there. And this dude is out of it about what he's seeing. And then people on the ground at the same time are coordinating what they're seeing, but yet these other pilots are like, but then I noticed NATO never gave him the order to fire. They said, maybe not. Maybe he's telling us the truth. We're not going to take the chance and shoot at some big UFO the size of Belgium. We're not going to do that. We're just going to let it float on by.
Yeah, that's probably a smart move.
Well, I still remember that general talking about it. He was like, he said, do you think what he saw was real? He said, I saw something in the sky. He said, so I agree with him. He said, why the other pilots didn't see it and why some of the people in town didn't see it? He said, I can't tell you. He said, but I can tell you it was definitely real. And it emerged on radar, which was something that helped everybody. And I don't know. It was strange. It was strange. See, something like that, that's a perfect time for disclosure. Big citywide floating thing across the planet. Something way bigger than we can build. Okay, look, there you go, people. Aliens visiting. Nope. And that's the other thing. And in the old days, I should say the old days, in the ancient past, they did walk amongst us. They just don't now. They don't trust us. They're scared Heidi's going to get up and give the Grays a big hug. You'd be like, don't be hugging me.
Hug attack.
Give big old kiss, big lip prints on the side of their head and shit. Yeah, man, poor Gray be like, then he'll go home and be like, why you got lip prints inside your head? Oh, no crazy human did that, and then he'll be in trouble. Things they got to worry about if they come to our planet, man. I'm just saying. See the things they got to worry about?
Yeah, man, that's a consideration for sure. Hey, let's take a quick station ID break. We'll be back in 15 seconds. This is the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 in the Gulf Coast. UPRN talkradio.com.
I'm getting Heidi married.
Well, that was...
Bob says he's looking for a wife, man. I'm just saying. I tell him about Michelle all the time, but he says she's too mean. So he said, you can't go there. It's bad when Bob is scared of Michelle. I mean, that says oodles and boodles right there. Actually, before anybody asks, we're talking about Michelle DeRoche. She is our station manager. She's a very nice lady. Her co-host is Amelia Pisano, the queen of food porn, by the way. And this girl is the queen of. You can't talk about it on this show, but she is the queen of food porn, and not before anybody gets any dirty ideas in her head. It's not that kind of porn, but she's queen of food porn. Come on Friday night, we'll explain it to you. It's hilariously funny. Yes, well, with the Grays, you get 3 husbands for 1. There you go, 3 for 1. Yes, because they always work in groups of 3s. Yeah, so you get 3 for 1.
Gotcha.
You
know what? You just reminded me of something. There was. You just reminded me of that latest whistleblower, Jake John something or other, and he's the one where they actually had video. It was News Nation released, and they actually had the video of the egg craft underneath the helicopter. And they said the reason they brought it down using a psionic or a psychic person, and that whole scenario reminded me of something from sci-fi, from Babylon 5. That's how they defeated the enemies in that show. They had a bunch of psychics on one ship, like 3 of them per ship, to block the actions of these dark shadow ships, and it made them freeze. They were able to fire on them and take them out. And that's kind of how they describe the scenario of taking down that one.
Might have been Babylon 5 fan
UFOs.
that started it. It's Babylon 5, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is the best near-night sci-fi on air. It's older now, so the special effects are kind of wore out a little bit. But other than that, the actors and all that,
it still stands up.
It stands up well. It's great. Well, when we do know that the Greys and the reptilians and the humans have an interest in telepathic people, because if you're not telepathic, you're not being taken. Empathic or telepathic, and it's a rule for our organization. We don't even consider someone an abductee if they're not at least empathic. You don't have to be a great empath, but you're just empathic. And a lot of people, don't even realize that they are empathic until you start talking to them. And they're like, "Oh shit, well I am." Yeah, a lot of people are. But the aliens, whatever this original patch was when they started with this, I imagine after the mixing of the humans and the reptilians, they were doing all the abducting back then. They were probably making sure the ones being taken were telepathic or empathic. And then they just built from there. When the Greys finally got into the middle of it, everybody says the same thing about the Greys. The Greys were sent here by the light beings and the council because they were scared that humans and reptilians were going to get into a fight. Not over the planet, but over us. And so they sent the Greys, and then the Greys took over like 60% of the abductions after that. But also they expected them to be empathic and telepathic. Because you got to remember, as far as they're concerned, if you're not empathic, telepathic, you're cannon fodder. You're a waste. I know it's cruel when I say it that way, but that's how they feel about it. Because let me explain why they feel it. Because they know y'all are going to be bred out. It's just like the Rh negative blood. It started out as 0, now it's 15. Actually, I think it's around 17 or 18% now. Eventually, it's going to be 50-50. Eventually, it's going to be 80-15 because it's going to breed the old out. It's just an upgrade is basically what it is. And that's what they consider. So a society that's completely telepathic changes. You can't even really have 200 countries when everybody's telepathic because we all know what everybody's thinking. Eventually they'll come up with ways to shield it, but in the beginning, no. And as we grow and learn and grow, and then you're walking down the street and everybody on the street can hear everybody's thoughts. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people will learn how to turn it off and just hear background noise, but a lot of people won't. A lot of people are nosy, and they'll just be walking with it wide open. Most empaths don't even know that they're in broadcasting when they're walking up and down the street. You'll be standing in a group of people, want to walk in, everybody will get sad or everybody will get happy. You're like, what just happened? Well, this individual just walked in broadcasting to everybody. It's how much power it has, even if they don't know what it is. It's just one of those things. So eventually we'll all become telepaths and we'll all know what each other's saying. So there won't be much lying left on the planet.
That'd be okay.
So that'll make us become closer and we'll lie less. Think about politics. If every politician was telepathic. And not just that, when they got up on that stage and started telling you bullshit and everybody else, the audience was telepathic. There wouldn't be nobody out there lying to you about what they're going to do. Because then, you know they were lying.
That's right.
So it would change the way we look at things, at least in the beginning. And there may be a way to stop it, but I would imagine if there's a way to stop it, there'll always be some way to override it. So it's just a matter of how that's going to work out. What is going on? No, I'm going to worry about it later. Okay, and why would it have done that? That's weird. We'll have to check on that later. Sorry, if you're on Rumble, people, I don't know. Rumble says it was either ended or deleted. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know why. It's up here with us still. Sorry, people. If Rumble went off, you can always come back and catch us on one of the YouTubes. Yeah, I'm not sure what the hell happened there, but we'll check on it later. But being a telepathic race, which is what they all are. Think about it. The Greys, reptilians, and humans are all telepathic. The tall whites are all telepathic. And they have one government, and most of them have one religion. They've united, which means they can I mean, people don't understand. Earth was united. Cancer would have been already cured. Most diseases would be wiped out on this planet. Um, we would be living a much higher standard than we live today. It's just, and for mothers and children, it's going to be very interesting. So, when a mother's laying there with her child laying on her chest, they'll be sharing that. And I imagine in the womb, at least after about 6 months, they'll be sharing thoughts. It's at the very least,
I mean,
child
that kind
will
of
feel
happens now
empathic.
anyway.
Yeah, well, it does really. The empathic part does for sure. The baby will feel the empathic feel of the mom. So there's a lot going on, but still, we got a long ways to go as a society. And like I said, I'm sure somebody will figure out some way to lie around it. But I'm thinking if you find a telepath that can protect herself, you'll find someone that can break into it. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
But it's funny, Heidi. One of my cardinal rules in my family is you can do whatever you want. Don't lie to me, because if you've done something, you're going to be in trouble. Okay, you're in trouble. Deal with it. If I found that you lied to me, your trouble is going to be far worse than it was if you did. Yeah. Well, most of my stepkids and my kids always were like, "Wow, I didn't get in this much trouble." So, because you didn't lie to me, and this is a fixable problem. But if you lied to me, it just sends, and it doesn't matter who it is, it just sends me over the edge. I've fired employees. I said, just tell me the truth. I said, you're probably not going to get fired. If you lie to me and I find out, you're going to definitely get fired. That's just how it is.
It totally makes sense.
Well, the Grays don't lie to you. Grays tell you how it is. And half the time you don't want to hear how it is, I'm sure. But it's who they are. It's what they are. It's the reptilians and humans are the same way. They look at their system. The reptilians they're empathic. They're telepathic, and they have genetic memory, which must be far more confusing. So the Greys, for some reason, so that's one of the reasons it's so funny about their human contactees. So the reptilians consider, the human aliens consider their human contactees, a lot of them, just to be like maybe distant trash cousins, but occasionally one or two that they actually like. The Greys just look at us as pets. That's the only way I can describe it. The reptilians, on the other hand, do look at us as family, because we do contain some of that genetic memory. And one of the problems with the genetic memory is people will write to me sometime about this thing that happened or they were involved with, but it's way too much and it's way too time different for them to actually have been involved in. So you realize it's a genetic memory. It's somebody else, some other person in that family line's memory that they have. And then you have to start teaching them to distinguish between what's their memories and what's the genetic memory itself. And like most of them tell me, after a little while, it's like a flavor or something. You distinguish what's the difference. And you can start seeing. So they actually get a lot of knowledge by thinking about stuff. Things will just pop up that other people in their family has experienced, and they have that knowledge now. It's a nice feature.
I see.
It's also, I imagine, can be quite entertaining. When you just start going through genetic memories. Oh, look what great grandpa did. Oh man, great grandma was, she's a little wild woman there, huh? I'm just, so we're getting there. I mean, and it does seem like the arch negative people are a bit more ahead on the telepathy and empathic stuff, even telekinesis. It's I don't know why. It just seems to be that way. It might be just the upgrade. And eventually that upgrade will upgrade to something else. Well, think about it.
I mean,
a long time ago, everybody was brown hair, brown eyed, and brown skin, and one blood type. Now we're like a diversity melting pot with 8 blood types. It's so you figure out what's going on. There seem to be mutations happening all over the place. Well, no, we were all brown-eyed at one time. Yes, because the people that originally bred, if these stories are true, then they were all brown-eyed. Brown-eyed, brown skin, brown-haired, probably maybe black-haired, but that's what they were. And then when the Rh negative blood came in, it caused a mutation, which caused green and blue eyes and other shades of eye color. And then it also caused Rh negative blood, which created an Rh factor, a negative Rh factor for all the blood types. Yes, with Rh negative being the purest form of blood known to man and the universal donor. So before that, there wasn't a universal donor until this accident happened. We're going to say there wasn't any such thing as a universal donor, but today there is. Do you know they offer people with Rh negative up to $750 a pint for plasma?
Ooh, well, someone get down to the blood bank right now.
Make some money, people.
Make a little money.
I wonder how many times in the week you can do that, man.
I don't know.
You know, the Rh negative thing was the Rh negative thing was a complete fluke that we even found it. We didn't know that it was a thing with the aliens until we started asking what your blood type is. And then we started like, what the hell? Why is there such a big discrepancy here? And then we weirded out when we found that Central and South America was 98% O. Just O. 8% O. And the rest of the world's not like that. Everywhere else, it's like 36% that, 37% this, 8% that, 7% this, 1.5% that. And somebody wrote to me the other day, what's the rarest form of blood to man? Really, it's AB negative or AB positive. They're 1.5%. But that's not exactly true because they can take Rh negative. So they're not actually the rarest form because Rh negative can only take, O negative can only take O negative. They can't take any other blood but their own. But O negative, everybody else can take their plasma and be converted into your blood. I know, ain't that a bitch? I know. No. It's you'll find a lot of O negative people green eyed. Yeah, you'll find a lot of green eyed ones. I have no idea why. It's some kind of weird thing. Heidi, what color eyes you got? Purple? Well, Hazel's just a cross.
Are we asking Heidi or me?
That's what hazel eyes are. It's just a cross between brown and green. My daughter's got kind of yellow.
Yeah.
It's I know. Me too. I wish I had that.
That's funny.
I have green eyes, but people
tell me as well.
People tell me all the time that my eyes they're green. They say when I'm drinking, they're like super green, like emeralds. When I'm not and I'm goofy, they're lighter green. Don't ask me. I can't. I'm not like I can see my own eyes when I'm yapping. So I have no idea if they're lying or not.
Exactly. You're not walking around with a little mirror all the time.
I know a lot of people with hazel eyes, and hazel's a weird thing. When you use that color extreme, sometimes it can be closer to brown, sometimes it can be closer to green, sometimes it can be kind of weird in between, and they tend to change a little bit. Hazel's not always the same. It moves around a little bit. Well, I know a lot of people with hazel eyes. Brown eyes? Oh, I know everybody. I know a lot of people with brown eyes. I think brown eyes are pretty. They might be the most, but I think they're pretty. Oh, yes. Well, I married a woman with brown eyes. That should tell you something right there. So this is what's so weird. Before we move on and get back to what we were talking about, why is it that so many stars and TV people have green or blue eyed, and how come? I can really understand them because it's kind of a show thing, but how come so many politicians have blue or green eyes? Really, blue eyes more than anything else. Blue eyes, I'd have to go check, but I think blue eyes, at one point they were only around 8%, but I think they're about 14% of the population now. Green's still somewhere around 2 or 3%. But brown is the majority by far. So why are there so many politicians, unless you're in Asia, which is majority brown eyes by far, everywhere else in the world, they tend to have blue eyes. Don't you know, people?
It's interesting. I know they look for blue eyes.
Yeah, but even in countries like South Africa, they have blue eyes. Why? The majority of people down here have brown eyes. Actually, in South Africa. It's not just there. Even in the Americas,
it's just
where the majority of people
who went there. No,
the majority of people in the Americas have brown eyes, but a lot of their politicians don't. I guess because it stands out and you see it on TV and it just doesn't register in your head, but it's something different. So you're thinking about voting for it. It drives me crazy. It drives me crazy when I see it. It just does. Because I know how many brown-eyed people are on the planet. Remember, the majority of colored-eyed people live in the New World. Yes, in the Americas and Europe, places like that. Asia is still dominated by brown. South America and Central America is still dominated by brown. Africa is still dominated by brown. And Carrie, don't forget, Africa includes the Middle East. Yes. So, yes, by far, that's what they do. Look, I didn't make the rules. God said this is how it's going to be. Pow, and that's how it is now. Look, well, you can argue with God. I'm not going to argue with God and say, "Oh, good job, he, she, it." I don't want to put a sex on God. I'm not sure what the hell God is. I don't want to go there. I don't want to use pronouns on God. How's that? Let's just leave that for another show.
That's smart. Smart move. Christopher McLean and Howie Odell, welcome to the chat.
Hey,
welcome to the show,
guys.
They joined us.
Welcome to the stream. We're going to change the name of the show to Strange Chat. Weird, strange and weird chat.
We started with disclosure and ended up with eye color.
I'm trying to think who would be, though, if I had to pick someone today that I would really trust to come out and disclose. I don't know. I'm kind of befuddled here. I'm not sure. You know, Trump would be good at it, but I'm not sure.
I give it to Bob Laser.
We'll give it to Taylor Swift. I'm just kidding, people. I'm sorry. That was wrong on my part on so many levels. I apologize. But I mean, she's got a big audience, man. Let's be honest. And she travels around.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
oh Lord, no!
It's true. She would probably be a little more believable. Although there's rumors she's with the Illuminati, so who knows? I don't know.
No, you never know. Oh man! Wait, who were you saying before I rudely interrupted you?
I'm Bob Lazar. I said Bob Laser.
Nobody believes Bob Lazar. Bob and I went out and got
given his
he told me all kinds of things. But by the way, if y'all can get Bob loaded, he will
say again.
So Bob and I went out and got drunk. So long story short, I was out with the newspaper guy from Vegas, the TV guy from Vegas. He does all kind of TV stuff. Him and Bob have done a lot of stuff.
Oh, Joe. I know what you mean.
Yeah. Anyway,
him and Corbell team up.
Yeah. Anyway, we were out. We were in Vegas for a conference, and he was there speaking, and Bob showed up, and the three of us were just sitting there talking. I said, "Well, look, guys, I'm hungry. I want to get something to eat, and get some drinks." So they said, "Well, I know this place. Let's go to this place." So we all went over to this place, and we started eating, and then we started drinking. And because my day was done, I didn't have to go back. So it was there. So we all started drinking, and we got to talking. But of course, aliens and UFOs. George Knapp, and all kind of other stuff. And Bob just started telling us, he was buzzed. And before anybody asked, I don't think he was lying to me. He kind of changed his stories around a little bit about some stuff, but he was telling me shit I ain't never heard before. And then the next day, it was funny. He comes knocking. He said, "I'm going to take you to breakfast." I'm like, "Oh man, why you want to take me to breakfast?" So we go get breakfast, and my wife was with me. And he said, "Joe, you know you can't say anything about any of that, right?" And I said, "Bob, I'm not going to get you in any trouble." I said, "I had a good time." I said, "I was drunk. I forgot." He said, "I know you didn't forget, but," he said, "I've heard you before." I said, just secrets are secrets. I said, "I have so many people's secrets in my head, I probably forgot most of them." I said, I'm not allowed to tell secrets. But it was an interesting conversation. It really was. And we talked about some stuff at Area 51 because he got mad at me. Long story short, a friend of mine works for Los Alamos. Actually, I got a couple of friends, but this was just a secretary friend of mine with a Class 5 clearance. So we're talking one day, and I said, "Is there any way you can look up Bob Lazar for me?" She said, "Sure. Just hold on." Bing! And it comes up and starts printing out things. She said, "You want me to send you a copy of the thing?" She said, "It's nothing here classified." She said, "Well, there's something." She said, "You got a classification anyway." So she sends it over. And there's Bob Lazar, picture of him, whole 9 yards. Shows that he has access to Area 51, Los Alamos, and one of the other facilities. was like, that's pretty good as a janitor. That's what he was officially listed as a janitor.
Is that how they had the classify him?
Actually, they called it a something engineer is what they called it. I forgot what the name was, but it
sanitation engineer.
So it was. I was like, so I was on air talking about what we had found, and I got this really nasty phone call. I'm like, Bob, I said, look, I can only go by what the damn thing said, and it clear and said everybody else's classification in there is right. I said so. But in all fairness to Bob, it doesn't really matter because he probably saw what he saw.
No.
When you work as maintenance or anything like that, you're always going to have access to bases because things need to be fixed. And everyday scientists don't do that kind of work. They're the scientists. They don't want to get their hands dirty to bring in someone like us. And that's how they do it. So I don't doubt that he saw what he saw. He just maybe ad-libbed a little bit to the story. But what he saw is what he saw. So I would never take that away from him, but it's hard to get away from the janitor part. It's like, well, and then I said, well, do you think they fixed it? She said, no, it's in the record. She said, this ain't been changed. She said, this looks like the same record from the day he was hired. I was like, wow, really? She's like, yeah. And poor girl, I got her in trouble because they transferred her to the WIP facility. and I cropped in a UFO in their underground facility. I got all kind of shit for it.
No.
I almost lost the classification of it. They were like, you can't do that. I said, it was a picture with a bunch of people with a big empty area, and I just tucked in a flying saucer in behind it, pretty good one, and just tucked it in behind it. And I said, look, they're out looking at their new saucer they just got. They went viral. So I even went online and said, no, it's fake. It's fake. No, it's nobody believed me. Everybody said, oh, it's real. Why'd you put it out if it was fake? You never put anything in it's fake. I was like, shit. I could never get it. It's still out there too. And I was like, I had to call and apologize to the people who ran the place. I got at least 4 visits from people I can't even name on this show. And they were like, how'd you get the picture? I said, well, but it's not a classified picture. It's part of their package thing. Oh, well, you knew someone who sent you the package? I said, I just ordered it online. Oh, I don't believe you. And I was not giving up my friend for nothing, so it wasn't going to happen.
Right.
But it was fun. They figured it out anyway. They figured it out. She got slapped on the wrist. They didn't fire anything because it was just a picture. It wasn't anything else. It didn't show any. It was the WIP facility is where they store all the nuclear waste that's not. It's like from the hospitals and stuff like that. It's not weapons grade. Weapons grade goes to Yucca Mountain, but all of this stuff is like things left over from any kind of radiation operation or different types of stuff they use, different types of dye they use, radioactive dyes and stuff like that. It's not like bomb grade or anything. But it was funny, dude. It was. I mean, it just took off. I was getting people writing me all over. Oh, Joe, you got to come on my show and talk about it. I said, I can't come on your show and talk about it. It's not real. Like, no, just make something up. Come on. I was like, no, it's not going to happen.
Make something up.
Holy shit. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. I'm not even tell you said it was somebody big who told me that. I was like, no, it's not going to happen. It's not. It was funny though.
That's funny.
I guess we must have been in the thirst for a UFO picture at that time because this son of a bitch just went all over, and even the net wasn't even as good as it is right now, and it still went all over the place. I got a phone call from a guy in London. Oh man, how'd you get this? Are you in trouble for getting this? I'm like, no, I'm not because it's not real. Oh, Joe, we know you just said
totally fake.
And that's still the answer I get today. You just did it. You don't want to get in trouble. That's why I'm like, okay. It's what teaches me a lesson. Don't fake anything fake, you dumbass. That's what it taught me. Don't fake. Man. It was good, but if anybody will get disclosure, it will be Steven. He ain't going to be Greer, so nobody even tell me that BS. So the exopolitics people are actually Stephen Bessette, Michael Sala, and Alfred Weber. That's your 3. That's who created exopolitics, which I brought them all on show to please explain to me what the bleep and bleep and bleep and bleep and bleep was exopolitics. I brought on Alfred Weber and Stephen Bessette one night I mean, no, I brought on Stephen Bissett and Richard Dolan one night. First show I ever did, I got 4 words. 4 words. It was heated, is as nicely as I can say it, because they did not agree on what was going on with this, man. I was like, ooh. And Richard was getting hot. Steve was getting hot. I was like, okay. And at the end of the show, Steven said, I kicked his ass. Richard said, I kicked his ass. It was like, whatever. It was a good show. It had good ratings. It's still up there somewhere, too. It's available somewhere. It was.
I'll find
but,
it.
I mean, really.
I think I want to watch that one.
Oh, yeah, you'll enjoy it. If we're going to get disclosure, it's going to be through someone like Steve just doesn't give up. He is a madman. He is, and he is one of my favorite ufologists. And he was the first person to ever really take me serious when I first got in the field 40 years ago. He was, he did a lot to help me get going in the field. So, and I respect him in it, but I still give him trouble about disclosure. Even though if I got to give anybody a shot, I'm going to give it to him. But I'm still like, no, I ain't gonna. I tell it to him all the time. He gets pissed at me. He's like, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen. I said, me and you'll be in heaven, come back, be back, going back, come back, going back, and still nothing will be happening. I said, until we go off world and find some damn aliens, we're just not going to get to see these. I don't know. I'm hoping for something. And if anybody, if y'all are right, I mean, if anybody might do it, it might be Trump. But the right person's going to have to.
He seems to have the administration that'll back a play like that. Yeah.
Yeah. If I heard, I can't remember the name of the black-headed senator lady who did the interview, but I haven't heard her ask him yet for anything. Well, I mean, the whirlwind's been going on, so it may take a little while. I mean, he's been so busy with so much stuff. Something like this is going to be on the back burner. I haven't really heard anybody pulling out yet. You know what? I'm going to apply to the press room because they're taking podcasts now, and we have enough listeners and we might get in. If not, though, I'm going to send her a question and say, hey, look, if you're not going to let me in, can you at least answer this question about do you think that if there's any hidden information on extraterrestrials or UFOs, would the president release it? And that'll at least get the ball started. I know Stephen's always constantly got something going on, but it's not always the right questions. Sometimes you just got to ask. You just got to say, hey, would you disclose this? I mean, sometimes you just got to ask. And as a friend of mine's always telling me that the Greys or what did you say? The Greys are Catholics, the reptilians or Jews, and other ones are Muslims. I'm like, where'd you get that from? He said, well, that's a religion. Well, it's a whole nother show, but so most, like 99.95 of religions stem from Sumeria, which of course is where the Anunnaki were supposed to live. So that's who they try to give credit for the religions. But the problem with that is Sumeria and Egypt are really close to the same age, and Mesopotamia really is too. The three of them kind of developed all around the same time, so and they all three seem to be different.
Yeah,
but it does seem like Sumeria and Egypt were messing with the human aliens, and it looks like the other one was messing with the reptilians, and that also shows you how early in time they were messing with us since the get-go. It also shows you that the Greys weren't present.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a hard thing for people to accept, too. They're like, well, I don't know why the Greys came so late. I said, well, the Greys didn't want to come here. They were off doing whatever they do in their higher understanding. They were like, you want us to go do what? With who? Not them humans. They stink. Oh, come on, man. They smell funny and stuff.
They smell horrible.
Vulcans think we stink, so why wouldn't the Greys think that? They'd be like, oh, my God. And they're hairy. You think about it, the reptilians, the Greys and the reptilians have hair. But not really, but no, they don't really don't. So only the humans have hair. So they're all kind of like, look at these hairy things.
Yeah.
Get them out. I don't know, guys, but it is kind of funny. And if we're going to have disclosure, it's going to have to be some kind of joint, some kind of big thing with presidents and because I'm thinking I think Trump right now could release everything our government have, and I don't know how much our government has because look at it from my point of view. Military abductions wouldn't exist if the government had the truth, would they? be no need for them.
Fair point. Fair point.
So the people I know who work in military abductions all tell me the same thing. Some of the researchers probably know more than we do. He said one of the reasons we like you is because you'll just go on air and talk about it. And if we call in, you'll talk about it more. He said, but a lot of them won't. I'm like, well, a lot of people want to keep things secret. Yeah, but I've been honest about it, and I've said this from day one. I don't mind talking to the government, which I've done before. It's just I'm not giving up anybody's names. But the research itself, I'll talk about it. I'll talk about how many people we got. I'll even let them see case files. They just can't see the names or the locations. Other than that, they can read everything else. And that's only because we're under signed disclosure agreement. We can't give anybody's names without their permission. And I'm sure some of them would say, okay, but I would rather not put them through that without having to. It's, we do. That was the first thing the organization did to make sure we were different from everybody else was a setup you had to sign, and you got an affidavit you had to sign. You had to get it notarized and saying that you would not disclose it, mainly because MUFON taught us a lesson. Or I don't want to blame this on MUFON as much as some of their members. They all went out and wrote books about people's cases. Not the person themselves didn't write the book. Somebody, a member, investigator wrote the book. And not only did they write the book, but they made the money and didn't give the other person any money. So that kind of burnt my.
Yeah.
So I said, well, we're not going to allow that to happen. Well, because there's lots of good books we could write about alien abductions, but I don't want to do it at somebody else's expense. And believe it or not, most people will know when you're talking about them because they remember what they told you. So if you're talking about, Jane and it's Jane Doe and this white thing pulled her down this hole and drug her around and then shaved her all up and then put her here and put these probes here, here, and here, and here and did this and this and that. She's going to know you're talking about her. Yeah, well, she's going to know. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. And we're going to have Tim probed this weekend. So yeah, something about Sean said Tim needed to be probed. So we're going to have him probed. I think Sean just wants to get the probing off of him. That's all. I think that's all it is. He says he's tired of being probed. He was doing something the other day. I said, "You keep aggravating me, and Bob's going to play you a personal visit, my friend." I said, even if I have to give him some presents, it's so weird because people will write to me or call me and say, "Joe, the Gray said his name was Bob. Is that true?" And I'll just start laughing. He said, "Did you actually affect one of them?" I said, "I've always called the Gray Bob since I was a itty tiny thing." I said, "That's his name as far as I'm concerned, is Bob." And I said, since I'm telepathic with them, I said, I know if it's the same alien. So I said, he's Bob. What do you call the rest of them? I said, I can't say that in public. That's like, I can't use that language in public.
SOB1, SOB2.
Yeah, that's right, so we just, there's some things we can't talk about. And then this psychic goes, "I don't understand. Why did you name him Bob?" I said, "Because I got tired of just seeing an alien and not having a name for him." I said, "Because you get you get a feeling from extraterrestrials, an overall feeling that lets you know that you're not in serious danger or anything. And then sometimes you even get this sense that you're safe and where you're at. But but still, you would like to be able to, something, a number, a name. Hey, EV26. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I just wanted something, so I just started calling him Bob. See, Bob's just a good name. Heidi, you see how that works? That's Heidi's new man's going to be named Bob.
It does work.
Or one of my friends, she calls me up and tells me the other day, my new girlfriend's name is Bob. I'm like, what? She goes, "You sure it's not your alien, right, Jerry?" She said, "Because you never said you could tell what sex they were." I said, I don't know if aliens do that kind of stuff. I said, "Don't ask me. I don't know." I said, "I don't even want to go there. Leave it alone." She's like, "I just wanted to make sure." And it was too funny though. It was just too awesome. Much. I was like, well, I don't know how the aliens work that kind of stuff out. We'll have to ask Bob next time we see him. I said, as far as I know, Bob might be a girl. I don't know. I don't want to rule it out. Oh man, but that stuff gets crazy.
No man,
there's so much awesome. Of it, and a lot of this is fun, and a lot of it's fun to play with. but there is a lot of serious research out there. There's a lot of serious data out there. And as much as I want disclosure, and I've told this to Steve, matter of fact, I'm going to invite him on in a couple of weeks and tell him again that I just don't think that we have the oomph to make it happen. I have seen so many of these things they have put on the government website. If you get it 25, they used to in the old days, if you got 25,000, they would bring it up. Then it was 50,000. I think now it's like 150,000. So you go on their website and write up this article or this piece, and if it reaches 150,000 views, then I think Congress or the president will look at it and see if it's something that should be addressed. So I know Steven's done a few of them. I know several people have done a few. We did 2 of them on different stuff, and they do address them, and you'll hear them even talk about them sometimes. But some of the stuff is just not important enough, at least not considering what's going on in the world today. That's the real problem with this extraterrestrial stuff or paranormal stuff or anything that's outside of the norm. There's so much what we would consider normal stuff swirling all the time. It's hard to squeeze in that 8, 10, 12% of abnormal to really look at it. And people want to know. It's not even that ordinary everyday people who don't even know what this is about, doesn't want to know. They do. Or sci-fi movies, paranormal movies, and UFO movies wouldn't sell so well. People are interested, but they're interested in a constructive way. And, as many paranormal shows as I've watched, I don't know how many of them I would consider constructive, maybe 1 or 2. What was the first one? TAPS. That was the first one. And I had forgot all about TAPS. Don't they still own a hotel somewhere and do stuff like that? Oh, no, I watched TAPS because they were contractors. I'm a contractor. The only reason I watched them. I wasn't a big fan of them. I've had them both on the show a couple of times. But he asked me one day, he said, well, do you like our show? I said, well, I like y'all just fine. And he goes, and how many times have you watched it? I started laughing. He's like, we're not going to like the answer, are we? It's like, no, not so much. It's like, he's like, well, if we can't sell you and you do all of this, I don't know. I saw the first one. I was like, ooh. I said, after the 4th time I seen y'all playing with them cameras, I was like, oh my God, just shoot me now. And he started laughing. You did not, did you? I said, I did. And then both of them start going on, telling me all kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, I said, I'll give y'all another chance since y'all been on my show. I said, I'll watch y'all again. So I watched them for about a month. Then I get a phone call. Actually, I think it was Jason that called me. He goes, can we come back on? He said, we had some good ratings. I said, no, sure, come on. He said, so have you watched? I said, yeah, I watched the whole month. He said, what do you think? I said, I can't tell you. He's like, what was the other guy's name? Anyway, he goes, I can't tell you. And I was like, why? He's like, why? And I'm like, well, you're not going to like the answer. Both of them just started laughing. He was like, you a hard sell. I said, no. I said, you might not like what I do on the radio. I said, some stuff I say I'm sure you'd be offended by or something. I said, the thing of it is, it's the camera thing that makes me crazy. He's like, why? I said, because how many of these cameras, these CCTV cameras you think are around the world? He said, I don't know. I said, I would say in the millions. And I said, how many ghosts have they caught? Oh, shit, none. And I said, oh, well, that's not true. Maybe 4. And he's like, but we're better. We're going to the place where we know the ghosts are at. And I said, I'm going to tell you something when we go to break. I said, I'm not going to tell you on air, but I'm going to tell you when we go to break. He said, what's that? I said, you see none of that rolling flashlight bullshit? I said, don't do that anymore. It's obviously a fake. He said, how could you tell? I was like, dude. I said, that's like first year F up. Don't do that anymore. He's like, damn. He said, the other guy said, it looked great. I said, it didn't look great. It looked stupid. And I said, besides that, I said, if a ghost is going to get you, he's going to probably kick you across the room, fling it somewhere, and hit you in the head with it or some shit. He's not going to go, ooh, back and forth. And they both just started laughing. Come back from the break to go, what did you tell them? They're in a different kind of mood now. I said, oh, yeah, they didn't like what I told them. I said, but they're going to fix it. They told me they're going to fix this, and that's all that matters. Now, what was it, Grant? Was his other one? Was Jason and Grant up there? I don't know, but they were a lot of fun. Yeah, I talked, like I said, I talked to them 4 or 5 times. They came on over the years, and we had a lot of fun. I picked on them, and they had a good humor about them because I picked on them and they didn't get upset. I was like, because there was
That's
one
good.
episode I seen. I said, if that was a ghost, my dog is a Rottweiler. And he's like, well, what does your dog look like? So I posted up a picture of a 4-pound Chihuahua on the screen. Like, what? Yeah. Now you know what I'm talking about. Everybody in the audience was cracking up. We had people calling in left and right. But a lot of people really liked their show. I mean, a lot of people liked it. But my point about all this
Yeah.
is there's no real ufology shows like this. The ones that are associated with
Oh, did we lose him? Did we lose him? We lost him. Well, folks, he was probably going to say something really fun and profound there just for a second. Or I'm off the air. I'm not sure which. So let's find out. Let's hope it self-corrects in a second or two. Because, yeah, frozen. Okay.
that was weird.
I don't know if that's me or if it's him. Yeah, that was weird. Okay,
I
yeah,
don't know.
you're
I
back.
think it was me because
Fantastic.
both images disappeared. So that was probably me. I'm not sure what
Yeah,
was going on
Heidi
there.
says you went away.
Yes, I disappeared there. I looked up and I seen both things
Yeah.
going. I said, "Well, that's on me." So I looked over to check my phone, make sure I had internet, but it was still on. So I don't know, guys and girls. Sometimes things get me because I'm talking about things I ain't supposed to talk about. That's fine.
We're talking
Like
about things
Heidi,
they don't want us to talk about.
like Heidi's new alien man. We're getting her an alien man. So these reptilians, Heidi, they can make themselves look so gorgeous. It's not even funny. If I had $1 for every person who told me this, I could be retired now. I mean, I've had people say they're the most stunning thing. They give off this vibe, this image, and all you can do is feel love and happiness. And the other things I can't talk about because it's a PG rated show. But come by Friday and I'll tell you the rest. How's
Sorry.
that?
Yeah, right.
I mean, what, and people
Well, we
learn how
lost
to
you where
use.
you were.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was going to say we lost you right in the middle of a statement.
Oh, what the hell was I saying?
If you could rephrase.
Oh, but you
Oh,
gotta remind me what I was saying.
you know what? Now I'm drawing a blank myself. Heidi, what was he saying?
Heidi, you know.
Heidi's on the backup, right? Oh man, that's embarrassing. Now I can't remember. You were talking about Jason and Grant and how they were. You changed their moods in the break, and then that's pretty much where you got cut off. And I think you got cut off again. Oh man. Okay. I think he froze up again. That's very interesting. We are talking about things they don't want you to hear. Maybe, probably not. But when he comes back, yeah, no one can remember if anyone else is on the chat. Oh, he totally went away. Oh, well, he'll dial back in a sec, I'm sure, or log in. But regardless, this actually kind of gets me to a point to where that I wanted to talk about, where he mentioned earlier on that UFO reporting, hauntings, and all that stuff seems to be slowing down. I'm for a very long time, not a very long time, but for a while, my little company, Scary, the paranormal investigation service I run, was the only one in town, especially around the pandemic. Well, that's pretty much still the case. There's one other group here, but I haven't had a call in up until like very recently. In fact, I got a case of this Sunday I'm going to be going to. Um, that's the first case I've had in about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. So there is a strange slowdown. And I'm back. Okay. That's good. So yeah. There is a really weird, strange slowdown. And it is kind of bizarre. I think Joe is on to something, that maybe this disclosure thing is approaching, and maybe we're all too distracted to really care about a chair moving on its own in our apartments or homes or buildings or whatever it is. We're in some tumultuous times right now, globally. So there's that's something to consider as well. Yeah. So there's I don't think there is a lack of anything happening. I think there's more of a lack of interest in these things that are happening. I mean, certain people can report things. UFO reports are going to happen. Ghost reports are going to happen. Absolutely. I don't think it'll end. But there's been a strange slowdown, and this isn't the first time it's happened. Approximately, let's see, something in the order of maybe 7-8 years ago, there was another slowdown, at least on the West Coast, and it was weird. It was just like virtually the entire United States, North America actually, went dead as far as activity went, except this thin little ribbon. And if you looked at the data, the reporting, it was this thin little ribbon in the middle of the country, and into Canada and into Mexico, and it almost looked like an hourglass. So it bubbled up around the border of Canada, bubbled up around the border of Mexico, but it got to a really thin ribbon in the middle of the country as far as reportings go. I'm across the board: UFOs, Bigfoots, ghosts, the whole thing. It was just a really, really bizarre trend, and maybe it's cyclical. This is the first time I've seen a slowdown like that since that time. So now this could also be, since I have a case this Sunday, a ramp up from that still zone. So I don't know. It's very, very interesting. Let's briefly cover our disclosure thing. He should dial in any old second, by the way. We'll get Joe back in a minute. I'm trying to see if he's writing me anything. He has not. Okay. So, disclosure. There is a way to go about it, and maybe, I don't know. I think Joe's definitely onto something, that we need to be very careful about how we do it. Maybe it has to be both government and alien intervention. If we're going to stick with just aliens, that they're going to have to communicate. And a lot of people say, and Joe will back up this thing if he ever gets back on the show, that we do have confirmation, short of all this film and video, that really truly confirms all this. But we do have confirmation from reliable sources throughout our more immediate history that says, yes, we are interacting with these creatures, with these beings. So I don't think achieving that unified release of information is impossible. But let's also look at other stuff. Let's look at the Bigfoot, the Nessies, all the cryptid stuff. Let's look, and for that matter, is there going to be a release on all the ghost stuff? Are we going to find out we've been peering through to another dimension? All these CIA file releases, whether they're hyper redacted or not, speak to a ton of strange spiritual stuff that our government and probably other governments throughout the world have already had a handle on for a very long time. So there's something to consider when it comes to that. And Joe is coming back on, so as soon as he completes his connection, I'll bring him back in for the last 5 minutes. And there he is.
Don't ask me. I had to reset the whole router, man. I don't know what happened. I looked over, and I don't know. It was doing these little weird things, real weird numbers. I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?" And
I was addressing the audience in your absence.
That's right.
I was addressing the audience in your absence that
We're going to give Heidi a show anyway. So
you talked about this. Yeah, absolutely. You should.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome back for sure. So I was telling them about the slowdown, another slowdown that happened in the paranormal world. I mean, UFOs, Bigfoots, ghosts, about maybe 7-8 years ago, where it just went dead, except for this really thin ribbon in the middle of the country. And it was weird. It's like an hourglass. It bubbled at the top near Canada, bubbled at the bottom near Mexico as far as reporting, areas of reporting. And it was just, otherwise it was dead. And then the pandemic happened, and it was still, and that was understandable why things went dead, because no one was doing anything. They didn't care if the chair was moving in their living room or not. There's, but
excitement.
I'm
sorry.
But I was saying that there should, whether these things are being reported or not, we are super distracted right now. There's a lot going on in the world. Maybe people just aren't giving a damn if there's, Aunt Sally from 50 years ago sitting in her favorite chair in the living room, and she's been dead for a while. They're just going to deal with it until things get a little more,
The everyday people, I can understand that. Like, people who are not interested in this stuff, I can understand that. But for the researchers, I would just think that they would be more interested in what was going on. It is funny because, like, New Orleans is a very haunted city, but New Orleans is also strange because. So how can I explain this? So Katrina came. It's hard. So New Orleans is a soup bowl, ladies and gentlemen. So we're completely surrounded by levees. The levees are 36 feet tall. So we're completely surrounded. So when the flood happened, New Orleans is actually above sea level in some of the surrounding areas, but everywhere else isn't. So what it seemed like happened is all the rest of the city and all the suburbs went dead. There was no activity paranormal-wise anywhere for more than almost a decade. It seemed like it took that long. But the French Quarter itself, the Vieux Carré as we call it, was smack full of everything you could think of. It was almost like they fled the high because it was salt water coming in. So I think they fled the salt water to get to some ground where it was fresh water and high ground. And that's what they ended up doing. So the quarter became very busy. St. Charles became very busy. The Marigny, these are all places that are old to start off with. I mean, they're 200, 300 years old to start off with, but this is where everything seemed to have gone. Now, finally, here we are about 20, 21 years, 24, anyway, later, and you're starting to see activity outside of the city again. Now, I couldn't tell you if this is new activity by new things that have happened, or if some of the old seems to have pushed its way back out of the city, back outward. But the activity in the city itself has definitely gone down about 50%. The Vieux Carré has dropped. It's strange. So you see that drop. So when I look around the U.S., and it's weird when you say about the hourglass, because it does seem like this has happened in areas first. It's like this area will slow down, that area will slow down. So I was looking, I was working with a friend of mine about Bigfoot the other day, and we were looking at the 5 major hotspots in Canada and the United States. And the amount of sightings have gone down 85%, maybe 86%. So we started looking for fresh ghost sightings. Just fresh ghost sightings, just anything on the web. It could be just garbage. We didn't even care. We were just looking for fresh ghost sightings. Man, we didn't find much. And if I type in new ghost sightings right now, it's crazy how low it is.
Yeah, it is. I was speaking to that as well. There was thin. It's super thin. I got my first case. We're going in this Sunday, but this is the first case I've had in like a year and a half or 2 years, and it's just been nuts. And folks, ladies and gentlemen, my friends, let's all thank Joe for being on the show. We have to wrap it up, so I'm going to say thank you so much, Joe, for being on the show. And thank you for all of you who joined us in the chat. And everyone out there, thanks for watching. We're going to see you next time on Paranormal Insight. If you have a paranormal experience that you would like to discuss on the show, please email us at paranormal.insight.podcast paranormalinsight@gmail.com. That's paranormal.insight.podcast@gmail.com.